right. I am so excited for another episode of the Unshakable podcast. And today I thought it would be really fun if this week and next week we talk about, hey, what makes us unshakable? Because this notion of being unshakable, what does that really mean anyhow? And so I thought we'd start today by asking you the question, Amber. Amber, what makes you unshakable?
Oh, putting me in the hot seat today.
That's right.
I love it. I love it. Man, when I think about that question, it's what is that? So I'm so glad we're having this conversation because it helps. It helps to bring it down, make it real. And so when I think about unshakable in life, especially, there is so much going on, right? We all have all of these relationships and these skills and talents. And I think that what makes me unshakable is honestly being able to show up really human in the middle of someone's process, honoring their humanity in the middle of that, letting them be in process and not judging or trying to fix it. And on top of that, not taking it personally, not carrying it with me. To be really honest, I am a classic overfunctioner and tend to take responsibility for all of the things around me. And so it's so fun today to show up and be able to be like, that's what makes me unshakable, is that if it's not mine, I'm not carrying it with me forward. I'm going to leave it there. But it also allows me to show up in those moments where someone does have a real need, a real problem, and they need that support. It allows me to be that support because I know that I'm going to walk away and still be fully intact. I'm not going to take on that extra responsibility. And so I feel like that was a loaded answer to a really simple question. So we'll start to unpack that together. How about that?
So simple, but not easy, right? We can say,
Yeah.
I am unshakable.
Yeah.
And I know you and I have done a lot of inner work and learning and growing and sometimes striving to be
Yeah.
able to actually get to that point. And we're still shakeable. It happens. But I would say for the most part, we're in that realm of being pretty unshakable. I wonder, Amber, how does that show up in your coaching when you're leading other people and guiding them?
Oh man, I could not be the coach that I am and coach to the level that I do without having this stuff in place, honestly, because I was such a bleeding heart and everybody else's pain became my own and all of that. Sometimes we call it empathetic, where it's I absorb everyone else's emotions and I'm learning that's really not healthy. There have to be good boundaries. And so it shows up in coaching in this, you are coming to me and I can sit with you. I often picture it like this. I love word pictures and pictures in my mind, but I can almost see it where it happens, life happens, you get stuck in a mud puddle. And sometimes, let's be honest, you sit in it because you're like, I'm already muddy. So here we are. And I picture it as I can come and sit in that mud puddle with you and we can explore it. Maybe we're going to drain it, right? Whatever happens is going to happen, and we're going to let that unfold. And then when the session is done, I get to stand up and clean myself off. And the beauty of that is for my client, they get to decide what they're going to do. They can stay in that mud puddle for another week or another 2 weeks until we meet again. If that's what they choose, they can do that. Now, is that what I want for them long term? Not at all, right? Eventually, you got to get out of the mud puddle. That's the goal. But if you need to sit there for a minute, sit there for a minute. I'm not afraid of you being muddy. It's totally fine. We'll figure it out. And so it shows up in coaching a lot like that, that it is, I'm not afraid of the dirt and the mud. And if you need to sit there for a second, go ahead. You're not going to stay there. I'm not going to let you stay there. That's my commitment to my clients as a coach, right? Like wherever you're at, I'm not going to leave you there. Do you have permission to be there right now because it's where you're at in your process? Sure. Am I going to leave you there forever? No, not at all. We're going to start building that bridge. I'm going to grab you by the hand and pick you up and we're going to wash off. But having that where I'm not taking it personally, it's not about me. It's totally about the client and what they need to feel safe in that moment. And so being able to give that is really powerful.
Ooh, that just stood out when you're like, it's not about me. And the
Mm.
reason why that stood out to me is because I am what people would say an empath. or I strongly empathetic right from childhood, man, just off the charts empathy. But I realize that sometimes in my life, I've used empathy as a way to meet my own needs.
Mm.
Like maybe it, because I can really feel others, then I have this way of being significant. Or maybe that grants me some love and connection from the other person. Or maybe I feel like I'm contributing because I'm jumping in the mud with them. But then I realize if I'm leaving somebody and I'm still carrying all their emotions and the weight of their emotion, then it's actually become about me, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And that really just highlighted. It's something I just thought of right now. I was like, wait a minute. Because truthfully, every once in a while, I will walk away with the other person's emotion. It will hit, and mostly it's because I can't stand suffering. When I watch somebody suffer, sometimes it'll put me into a suffering state, and then I have to redirect or correct. I would say 98% of the time, I'm like letting them. I can get into empathy in that moment, which is essential. I am definitely not talking about anti-empathy here. In fact, most people, if I can get them into empathy for the other person, that it crosses so many broken places. It can cover so much problems. And a lot of times I working with spouses, right? You've got one of them just is about their agenda and it's very hard to get them into empathy, but once they do, it crosses the whole bridge that's been going between them. And so empathy is huge, but it also can be wielded in an inappropriate way. And so I thought it was interesting when you brought that up of what makes you unshakable in your coaching is this empathy but responsibility with it.
Yeah.
Where and you do, yeah, I would say you actually do better than me at that of that you can walk away and not be left with the feelings.
Yeah.
Which also has made you a safer person to be with. Because if you are walking away with like all of my emotions, then now we're commiserating and it's not helpful. So it's great to be able to call you and know that you're not going to just, you'll jump in the mud with me to help me to sort out what's happening, but you don't walk away and stay in the mud, or you don't take the mud puddle with you and leave me without the mud, right? You handle the mud appropriately. You're like, I'm not afraid of your mud, but I'm also not going to keep that on myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I just thought that was fantastic what you said.
Thank you. I think too that idea of being so empathetic and absorbing those emotions can really, if we're not careful, push us over into that high functioning codependence because it's uncomfortable. It's just because I can leave you in the mud and wash it off of myself doesn't mean that it doesn't bother me to see someone sitting in a mud puddle, right? It really is. It's uncomfortable. But I have learned, and it has been a process. It's really been a lifelong process. I have learned if I don't set those good boundaries, then your discomfort causes me discomfort, and then I have to do something to fix that. And then that's where, if I'm not careful, I can flip into fixing the other person. Oh, let me solve this for you. Let me tell you what to do. Let me give you all of the solutions, right? And sometimes that can really be driven by, oh my gosh, you're uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable. I need you to be comfortable so I can feel comfortable. Here's a solution. And so it gets this, it creates this web. And it really does. We've all had people in our life who want to fix it. I have a sweet friend I've for about 5 years now, and I adore her, but she is a fixer. And so every conversation, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Did you think about that? And sometimes I'm like, just let me be uncomfortable because I have everything inside of me to figure this out. Right?
Yeah.
And we do need other people. So it's not to discount that, but it's the posture from which it comes from. And so when it can come across as I'm going to sit in here with you, Amber, and we're going to figure it out together and probably both get a little messy and it'll be okay because we'll both clean up versus I'm standing outside of the mud puddle and I'm like, come on, what are you doing? Stand up, get out of there. That heart posture really makes a difference. And so I thought it was interesting. I'm like, I want to point out that sometimes when someone's uncomfortable, it makes us uncomfortable and we want to fix it. And maybe that's part of my superpower is I'm not afraid of uncomfortable. Maybe that's the like,
Yes.
I'm not afraid to go there. Yeah.
You know what? When you said that, it reminded me of our coach training. And what I mean by that is we talk about coach the person, not the problem. And what makes us unique as a coaching company, as coaches within erasure coaching, is we want to teach people how to coach themselves. So, listeners, you're probably like, how does this apply to me? I want to apply it to you. You can coach yourself in the moment. And so, one key thing that is taught in our coach training, and it's so funny, if I get a call where somehow we get over to coaching the problem, I can tell because it's somewhat irritating to me. I had a conversation with a fellow coach, a good friend of mine. Her name's Kayla, and she was reviewing one of her coaching sessions. I know I was coaching the problem instead of the person because of the way I felt afterwards. This like almost agitation, like it wasn't fun, like it wasn't a good session. Client got a ton out of it. It was awesome, but we could feel the dissonance in there. And so when we're coaching the person, that's a place of empathy and curiosity.
Yeah.
That, first of all, it helps me take me out of the situation because real listening has none of me in it. Most of us listen at a level one area where I'm listening to respond and immediately respond. So you're having a whole conversation in your head while the other person's talking. And how much do you actually get out of a conversation like that? You really don't. And then you go, well, I was listening. I was like, did you listen for the words and to respond, or did you actually listen for what the message the person was trying to give you? And that changes everything. And so this idea of being unshakable, I think just having this conversation today brings up that idea of I can coach myself in the moment. And when I'm working with other people, I'm going to take a mindset of empathy, curiosity, non-judgment. Yeah, not a lick of judgment in there because you cannot serve and help somebody that you are judging. You can't.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so, yeah.
judgment puts us in opposition to the person that we're judging. And I really realized that about myself. We self-judge a lot, you guys. And we don't have that empathy for ourselves or that curiosity. And those are some key things that really can apply. But when I realized that, oh, if I'm judging myself, I'm opposing myself. And what's going to get done then, right? Nothing. No health, no growth, nothing, because I'm standing in opposition to me. And yeah, like all of these things, we learn to apply them to ourselves. And so, what would it look like to have empathy for yourself, to not judge yourself, right? To be curious. Why do I feel this way? What's going on? Instead of judging those emotions, I'm angry and anger is bad. Come on. I don't know how many times in sessions I'm like, it's okay if you need to yell. If you feel angry, scream. I don't care. You need to cuss at me? Go for it. Honest to God, I don't care. It's because you got to get it out of your body. And so here's a safe place to do it. And that's, yeah. But we shy away from that. I haven't had anyone yell at me yet. So I guess that's a challenge for future clients, right? If you're feeling real angry and you need to yell, go ahead and do it. Maybe I'll scream with you, right? Sometimes we need that, just that release. But to not be afraid of our own emotions is really big, and to not judge them. Just to be able to be where we're at for that moment and recognize it.
Yes. That self-curiosity is massive. Everyone who's listening, hear this from me. Be curious about yourself. I had a situation yesterday. It was this temptation to go into massive emotional stacking because it was a very challenging day and it was when all stuff hits the fan and it's springing all over and it's like, okay, wow. And I was feeling some things inside of myself, and I had to get after one of my clients. I'm like, listen, you do not get to judge you. That is not what we, hold on. Because they beat themselves up all the time. I'm just not good enough, and all these I am sayings. And knowing when you say I am and you insert a word, you've now created an identity around that. And your brain is, oh, I am, and you fill in the blank. Your brain's going to keep you living to that standard. So if you're saying I am a loser or something like that, you're gonna end up pouring that out into your life. It's, oh my gosh, stop judging. So the way I face it now is, huh, that's interesting sensation. I wonder, that's interesting. And then I get curious, and then it's so cool because it's an opportunity to learn. And I would say, with what I was facing yesterday, I had so many opportunities to learn. It was just beautiful. So then it ends up, instead of being like, oh my gosh, this is a bad day, right? I had a bad day. I was like, I had a challenging day that ended as a beautiful day. Because in that beautiful day, I learned a whole bunch of things about myself. And I also learned how much I've truly implemented from what I've already learned. Because first thing is, I'm like, okay, I've got some sensations in my body, some emotions. How about I go take a walk? And I got out, I'm like, I'm going to walk and I'm going to process this and get it all out of my body. And then, oh my gosh, then solutions come and everything starts to be in order, in alignment. It's really fun. So that's a core value, man. First of all, we don't do shame.
Yeah.
We don't do judgment. Because, and that I think comes out just as much as don't judge other people as don't judge yourself. So I love that you highlighted that. So I'm curious now to turn it the other direction. I said, what makes Amber unshakable in coaching? Now, what makes you so unshakable in your life?
Yeah. Ooh, it's very similar, honestly, to not picking things up that aren't mine. I actually have a short course out there. We can link it in the show notes called Travel Light. And it is all about what are you carrying emotionally, mentally that isn't yours to carry. And when we travel light through life, we get to be unshakable. I think about both Rebecca and I enjoy hiking very much. And if you have this heavy backpack that's imbalanced, and then inevitably you find a creek that you want to cross or something, and so you're like stepping from one stone to the next or walking across a log, if there's too much weight in your backpack, what happens? You teeter, right? Or you fall back, or you can't quite get your balance. But when your backpack is packed appropriately with the things that are yours to carry, you can walk across the log. You can skip over those rocks without fear of falling because everything that you need is in place, but you haven't gathered all of this extra stuff. And so I think that's a huge key that I have unlocked in the past few years, really, to travel light. I have notebook pages in my journals full of this is what is Amber's responsibility and this belongs to the other person. And in black and white, I'm listing it out. This is what is mine. This is what I can control. This is what I can't control. And then I'll say it out loud. I'm in charge of these things. I can maybe influence, but I can't really do anything else about these things that aren't mine. And the unshakability that has given me to really discern, is this mine to pick up or not? I just want to share this story. My husband, bless his heart, he's got a lot on his plate. And so he's stressed and he's feeling the weight of all of it. And the other night, he's so stressed that it's looking like anger, and he's pacing in my kitchen. And old Amber would have been like, how can I fix it? You're uncomfortable. Let me fix it for you. But this new travel light Amber is like, that's not really mine to pick up. So I'm just gonna. So I'm not even kidding. I was sitting there eating Doritos as he is pacing in the kitchen. And it was just this realization for me of I don't have to carry all of this stuff. Why? Because my proverbial backpack is packed with my life, with the things that I can carry. And I don't have to overfill it with everybody else's stuff. And so can I support him? Of course. Yes, 100%. And there are ways that I will do that. But in that moment, he was processing this overwhelm and I was like, I can't take it away from you. I can't do that. And so I just sat there and kept eating my Doritos. But that to me points to that unshakability. I didn't get thrown off by someone else's overwhelm. I didn't get knocked out of place by someone else's anger and frustration. I didn't have to pick up things that weren't mine to carry. Yeah. And so I think
Oh my
that's been
gosh.
huge.
I remember when I was speaking with one of my mentors one day and he was trying to teach me this because I had been in a strong over functioning role. And he was talking about how his wife handles him. And I thought it just blessed my heart because she just walks up and just, she goes, "Hey, you got this, buddy. Go get him." And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. Sometimes we have to get this bleeding heart of, "Oh, I'm so sorry you." And I know that since really coming from the ministry background and pastoring, I tended to, it was almost sympathy instead of empathy. It's, "Oh, I'm so sorry you're going through this. Oh, that's so sad." Or, "Oh, that's," and I could just, even saying it right now, I can feel the energy go down.
Mm.
That's so sad. All that you're going through. I had to change my relationship with pain because my whole heart has always, I hate watching people suffer. But when I realized pain is inevitable, you will have pain in this life. It just, this is what happens. You can have a lot less pain when you put these things into place to become unshakable. A lot less pain. I'm like, man, if I would have had this when I was going through all the stuff several years ago, I wouldn't have gone through the stuff in the same way. It wouldn't have harmed me at all. This is huge land moving kind of level stuff. But when you really step into that and you're not taking it personally, you're not carrying it, but you're supportive, it can really change how you show up. You have to. This was so hard. I had to change my viewpoint of when people are in pain because the pressure produces progress. And if we're never in pain, we tend to just be like happy with the status quo. "Oh, this is great." And we won't grow. And sometimes I think God literally gives us problems so that we have the opportunity to solve them. And when we take them as an opportunity to solve them, then we grow and we grow immensely. And it gives us variety, it gives us an opportunity to contribute. It's such a gift. Leaders, they eat problems for breakfast. And so learning to adapt our relationship to pain and be able to use that to leverage it towards powerful outcomes is such a huge thing to becoming unshakable.
Yeah. And I just to piggyback on that a little bit from that pastoring world, we tend to have this, I have to sacrifice myself, right? That it becomes all about how do I deny myself? How do I sacrifice myself? How do I lay down my life for this other person? To what end, though? For them to be more comfortable? It doesn't, I think we've mixed that up so much that self-sacrifice looks like self-erasure. So we're erasing ourselves in order to keep someone else happy. And I honestly am a firm believer that in mutual healthy relationships, you should not have to sacrifice yourself. You will compromise, but it should not require self-sacrifice. And so when we get stuck in that loop of it's my job, or if I was a good wife, if I was a good mom, my kids would never suffer, right? We then that's what we do. We erase ourselves in order to keep them happy and comfortable. And
Yeah.
then they never grow. Rebecca was saying that they need that pain. Our kids, our spouses, our employees, our clients, even, they need that pain in order to grow. They need to feel that. And if we're constantly shouldering that burden and taking it off of them, we're preventing that growth. It's like the butterfly. I'm sure everyone's heard this, but they struggle to get out of a cocoon. And it from the outside in it or from the outside it looks painful. Oh my gosh, this poor little beautiful butterfly is never going to make it. How are they going to do this? But do you know if you cut that cocoon open, you actually thwart the process because now they haven't had to undergo everything in order for them to be strong. And so then they come out weak and their life is not the same. And so I think that's part of that unshakability too, is letting people experience their own life. And we can do that not with sympathy. I love that, Rebecca. Yeah, I'm sorry you're going through that. But real empathy is like, how can I be with you in this? Not forever. I got my own stuff. I got my own mud puddles I'm sitting into. But how can I join you in this and be with you in this while I'm here? And that's the big difference between sympathy and empathy. It's not, I'm going to take it on. It's not, I'm going to pat your head and be like, oh, there, you'll be fine. But it's like when we're together, I'm going to be with you in this. And and then I'm going to be unshakable and I'm going to stand up and live the life that I'm called to live and not erase myself just because you're going through a moment of pain.
And because I know you, you can sit in a mud puddle and then you go and you walk out what you need to walk out as a strong, powerful, energetic person. And then you'll circle them back and say, hey, how are you? How are you doing? How is it going? What's your progress? And if you have to, you'll get back in the mud puddle.
Yeah.
But then you always get out of the mud puddle, shower off, and moving right along. Really important because if you're in everybody's mud puddles, you lose your sense of self. I really feel that I've seen a lot of people do that where they're like, oh my gosh, I've been trying to make everybody happy for so long, or to get rid of their pain, or to carry the burden and all that stuff, that I'm like, who the heck am I anymore? I've had people just totally identity. I have no idea who I am. And I had a client that did that. She got in touch with her own identity, and oh my gosh, the breakthrough that came out of her life, because she had just given herself to her marriage for so long, trying to be what her husband wanted her to be instead of being her, that she had just completely lost herself. And we worked together for what? It was only 3 months, and boom, she's on it. And 2 years later, the girl is just thriving. It's amazing. It's amazing to watch what happens when we allow somebody to be inside their own pain, but not alone in it. We talk about it's dangerous to go alone. I so agree with that, is to be in the middle of pain and have a bunch of really healthy people come alongside you is huge, because they're raising your standard. They're not like, oh, let's get sad with her. Let's get sad with him. They don't do that. It's, hey, we're here. We're going to be a presence for you.
It's true. And that identity piece, and I think this, I'm realizing it's such a core belief of mine. The world needs who you were made to be.
That's so good.
And I believe that. I believe that about myself, and I believe that about every person that I meet. And so those differences then can be celebrated and cherished and adored and highlighted, because the world does need you in the way that you were meant to be. And so going after and figuring out who that is and becoming that person is such a sacred journey. And that the sacredness of that journey actually, I think, requires someone to come alongside of you. And that's what I do in heart optimization coaching. We are optimizing, we are bringing it fully functional, back online, back to life, your precious heart. That is the goal. At the end of our time together, what I want is for you to walk away more yourself than ever before, and more in touch with what that is and who that is, and making those decisions. And I'm telling you, your relationships will fall into place, your purpose will fall into place, right? These things that feel really big and lofty out here, when you start showing up as you, they start to fall into place. And it's okay if your heart needs optimized. I have had seasons where I'm like, oh man, I got to get this back online and functioning properly, because the core of who I am is important enough, not just to me, but to those around me. It's so important that I show up fully myself. And it's the same for you.
I love that, Amber. We've had such a cool conversation today. So we're really talking about what makes Amber unshakable. And so as we wrap up, I can't believe how fast the time's going. My goodness. But as we wrap up, what would you say if somebody said, what is Amber's 3-step pathway to unshakable living? What would you say to them?
I would say it starts with travel light. Get rid of the things that aren't yours. Discover who you are and who you were made to be. And then step into that unapologetic and just be that in every situation, and let the rest fall into place.
Yeah, I love that. Yep, I love that. That is awesome. All right. Any last words?
This was fantastic. I had a great time.
I did
Thank
too,
you.
because I know everything you're saying is so true to how you actually are. And it's not a show, it's not head knowledge, it's lived out knowledge. And I just say that because so many of us will get that head knowledge and then we can spout it off to somebody else. But are we actually living it out? And that's what's huge is with you, you actually live it out. And it's actually just so beautiful to watch and see. So thanks for sharing with us. I invite all of our listeners back next week where maybe we'll talk about what makes Rebecca unshakable. That'll be really fun.
Yes.
All right. So we love you guys. Bless you. Have an unshakable day.